what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will. This is credited to AC, or Aleister Crowley, who is commonly known as a Satanist. And people like to use that credos, or that dictate, as a sort of bargaining tool against somebody who appears to be acting of their own free will and who does not necessarily appear to be subordinating themselves to some higher force. The reasoning behind using it as a method of attack is a bit off, because it's kind of like saying, if somebody declares themselves to be an atheist, then they're going to immediately start murdering, killing, raping, destroying, as if the adherence to some form of organized religion is the sole aspect that is keeping one from being a beast. And even to call them a beast is incorrect. Keeping one from being wholly immoral, amoral. Which goes along with the same idea that one would need a structured form of rules like the Ten Commandments in order to know that it's bad, wrong, to kill a human being, to cheat on a wife or a girlfriend or a lover, to steal. The idea that one must be programmed with a rule set like a computer, otherwise they just flip off, fly off the handle, and become a barbarian. It's just a bit of flawed reasoning, and it doesn't play out in the experiential realm. Traditionally, the fundamentalist religion adherents have been the villainous ones. Justified by the belief that they're doing God's will and working for the chosen people, which does not include every person, it includes a select group. And even that in itself goes against Jesus' very basic teaching, which says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Very simple. If you're dividing the populace into those who are saved and those who are not, and villainizing the ones who are not saved, and acting as judge and determining those who are not saved, you're not treating them with love. You like to be treated with love, yes? So you're not doing unto them as you would have them do unto you. It's very simple to see that a being that does not overtly adhere to a given set of rules for moral behavior does not immediately become a barbarian. In fact, usually this being becomes more compassionate, more open, and more considerate of others. Because now he's not internally, mentally segmenting the population into those who are with God and those who are against God. And he's not, at the get-go, biasing himself against half of the population or whatever, however the lines have been drawn to that individual. So when somebody uses "do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law," when they use that as a method of attack, what they're really saying is you are incapable of being moral toward your fellow human being without this given set of rules. That's what they're actually saying. And that's just incorrect. It's not correct in any way, shape, or form. There have been studies with children, young children, 4 or 5 little ones, prior to a lot of the programming that happens in most of our childhood, and they put these kids in a room, and there was an adult trying to do something, open a cabinet or do anything, and the adult would struggle to do it, to complete the action that he was trying to do, without saying anything to the child. And in most of the cases, the kid would walk up and say, "Hey, you know, this is how you can do it." The child would automatically, internally want to help in whichever way they could. And this is coming from the child's being. This is what's naturally inherent in them already. The idea that we need to cheat, steal, hoard, be unkind, any of these ideas, those are not naturally present in the human being when the human being is born. Aside from the natural things like, I need to eat, and if there's not enough to eat, then I'm gonna basically compete for the available resources. That's something a little different. But so long as there's enough to go around, for the most part, humans like to share with one another. That's natural. They see how it benefits themselves and everybody else. It's not natural to have hate in your heart. That comes from the perceived lack that we're taught. We're programmed to be hateful toward one another. We are programmed with artificial lines drawn on maps that say this group of people here is privileged for staying inside those lines, and everyone who's outside of the line is not privileged. We are programmed to view each other in terms of race and ethnic background, age, job, skill set, even what type of family we're born into, whether we're born with a silver spoon, whether we're born into a poor family, into an affluent family, into a royalty line. We're programmed to categorize every human being according to their exterior, either achievements or talent or what they were born with. It's all a measurement system. And we're taught and programmed to place ourselves somewhere on the hierarchy, somewhere on the totem pole. somewhere on the pecking order, somewhere in the caste system. And we're also given the idea that you need to earn this, that, and the other thing. You need to compete for this, that, and the other thing. And this is basically how you achieve in life. We're taught that we're born with lack, and if we don't do anything, if we don't add on to ourselves, then we are going to stay in lack. Essentially the original sin idea. You were born in sin. You must do something, somehow, some way, whether it be finding the way to receive grace so you can be saved, or whether it be from the Catholic side, works, doing good works, giving to charity, giving your 10% to the church, reading your Bible, going to church. But it's the idea that is programmed into us as well, that you are born in a state of lack. You are born in sin. You are born in the fallen state. In other words, you are not complete. You are not whole. There is something missing, and you must find that piece. And as long as you're looking at the rule set and you're weighing your own self and your actions towards others with regards to this rule set, externally given, this is not coming from within your heart. As long as you're doing that, you're always going to be judging your actions against that ruler. And you're going to be measuring your actions. You're going to be measuring the amount of love you're producing. You're going to be measuring the amount of support you're producing. You're going to be measuring everything. Measuring, chop it up. Chop the atom up into its component parts. Find out what matter is made of. That's what Alan Watts calls the ceramic model of the universe. Where in order to understand all of life, you chop up the matter and you find out what it's made of. Chop up the human body, find out what it's made of. Chop up the universe into stars and galaxies, solar systems. Chop up everything, find its component parts, name those parts, and then you have understood all of life and all of existence. And now, by virtue of naming everything, you've mentalized the universe. You've taken what is a magical place, a mysterious place, and you've reduced it down into a mental picture that you carry around in your mind all the time, instead of experiencing via senses, via the 5 gross senses, the touch, smell, hearing, sight, sound. Hearing and sound. I missed one of them, but those 5 senses. So you're staying away from those. You're staying up in your head, in your mental picture of the universe, of existence. And by virtue of forgoing even the 5 gross sensory apparatus, which translate into finer, more subtle energies internally, which can only be found through internal examination of your own existence while it's happening, or meditation, or observation. You miss out on even the beginning of those, which is just staying present and observing these 5 regular senses. And then if you miss out on that, then you miss out on the opportunity to go even deeper and deeper into yourself, into your experience, and finding these subtle, nuanced pieces of you that are moving within you, that are important within you, they're important to the overall picture and how you understand and move through your life. You forego all of that for this safe mental picture that has every choppable bit named, that has a languaged or a spell-casted reasoning for all choppable bits in the observable universe, or the realm, or the existence itself. And by virtue of naming all the bits, you feel safe, because the unknown has been pushed off into the very dark recesses of your subconscious, of your unconscious. And that's the ceramic, that's Alan's ceramic model of the universe. And that removes spirit, it removes energy. And I don't mean in terms of classification and mentalization of these things. I mean in terms of the actual experienced fact of what the words energy and spirit are pointing at, because they are not the thing. A tree is there's a whole different experience when you walk up to that thing that you know of as a tree, and you spend some time in that being's presence. Everything here is living, even the rocks, even the cells, even the hardest matter, the diamonds. Okay, there's movement in there. It's not just still, it's not hard. The ceramic model is incorrect. The universe is a living, breathing whole. And yes, the ability to chop it up into bits and name everything so it feels safer, that's okay, of course. But the problem came when we started living in the mentalization, or the picture overlay, which is doing its best to represent what's actually going on. We started living as if that was the reality, rather than breathing and moving and dancing, flowing, flow state, right? And by moving from flow state and natural organic breathing, living, the sensory perceptions of the now, the felt perceptions, not the named perceptions, by moving away from that, we move away from life itself into projection land. And that's the overlay that is mentioned quite often. That's the artificial overlay that would like to take the place of actual existence. Actual felt, perceived, moment-to-moment existence, where you're breathing, you're feeling, you're smelling, you're seeing. You're directly spirit to spirit connecting with other human beings, not with John Doe, all capital letters, who is tied to his chopped up, bitted up history according to paper and money. We as the living beings can forget that we're living beings, and we start identifying with the paper Gary, right? The fictitious entity, the chopped up and bitted up perceived past of the body of Gary. And when you start going down that path, you immediately remove yourself from the present and you walk into fear, because that's where fear lives. It lives in the past. And projected fear is the future. So you project your fears out into the past, and then you create insurance and you push it on to the future. It's just insured fear. Insurance is a hedge against fear of what might happen to your possessions, to yourself, to your family after you die and your economic ability for output is removed. And it's purely hypothetical for you, even if you purchase life insurance, purely hypothetical, you never see it. If you were to die, well, you're not there seeing the benefit you give to your family. It's a guilt trip that's laid on you by money. And I'm not saying it's bad to go buy insurance, and it's not bad to have that idea that, okay, my family's going to be taken care of after I die. None of that stuff is bad. What's bad is when that idea which removes you from the present moment and tries to predict all the possible outcomes of an unpredictable existence, and tries to have hedges and safety measures against all of those. And instead of living in the living moment, you live in a safe mental moment that has all of the fears accounted for mentally, even though they're not really accounted for, because anything can happen to anybody at any time. A boulder could fall out of the sky and smush you at any time. A train could fly off the tracks and run you over. You could have a heart attack. All these things and more. And it's all fundamentally rooted in the primordial fear of death, which comes from the ego sense of attachment to your things, your possessions, your ideas, all those things. The exterior, or the outside, has been explored and it's been plundered. If you look around you, it's a wasteland. Materials have been mined out of the earth, petroleum mined out of the earth, forests chopped down. The cities are looking like garbage disposals. If the thing were to like cough or burp and just like, you know, just a little belch, and how your sink looks after the garbage disposal burps. That's what the cities look like. We don't care for the homeless. We don't care for everybody. We care for the ones who have earned it. We don't even look at homeless people, for the most part. In San Francisco, that homeless population just grows and grows. And there's a good chance that those guys and girls have a closer connection to the moment itself by virtue of not being mentalized into the machine or the system. Because the further you go into that, the further removed you are from that living on the knife's edge, which is the present moment. You're living on that razor blade. You're walking that razor blade line. So when people take Aleister Crowley and use him as a scapegoat for all things that they consider to be evil, and try and group you or whoever they're attacking in with this perceived boogie monster named Aleister Crowley, even though he did say, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. He didn't just say that. He said, love is the law, love under will. I would argue that it's more like will under love, but those are also just words, and they go along in that mental realm. All of your understandings of these things have to be, the labels need to be seen for what they are, which is just a finger pointing at something, and then just go look with your bare eyeballs and your bare finger senses, your heart, give yourself fully to that which the label is attempting to describe, and you'll find out what it is. And you'll find out also that that word doesn't do a very good job of explaining it. It's more like a roadmap. Like if you were to say love is, say, a place, so you go there and you experience love, or what the word is trying to point at, in its fullness, okay? Well, the word love would be the sign or the word on the map. And And then on the signposts, there would say love this direction, and you would use that signpost to walk yourself toward what is actually being meant by that word love. And then you would go experience what is actually meant by that word love, because the word love is not the thing it's trying to describe. It's a pointer. So we get really hung up on words because they would have us believe that they are reality itself, they are the existence itself. And we're so comfortable with them because they come flying out of our mouths all the time that we start mistaking them for the actual things they're attempting to portray, which they're not. Not only that, they change. The dictionary evolves. Words come and go, definitions change, words come together with other words to create new words. They have a life of their own. Outside of the existence itself, prior to words, there is a universe that's comprised just of words. That's the mental realm. And you can live there while you're here. It's better not to just live there, because then you're not experiencing this, like the sensory, the sensuous. The actual romance of your being as relating to other beings and bodies, movements and energies within this realm. So, headed home, guys. I'm headed home. I'm kind of tired. I'm kind of sleepy. It's been a long week. It's been a good week. I've been having a good time. I hope everyone else is having a good time. Yep. See you later. Take care. Bye.